You're listening to the Undefeated Bears podcast with Jay Clark, releasing every Monday at 9 a.m. all season long. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast Bears for the latest Undefeated Bears updates.
Welcome to the Undefeated Bears podcast. Jay Clark here, and we got a victory today, man. 16-6 victory over the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC North Showdown. And we'll get all into it right here on E9. We'll get into our offense, defense, and we'll also take a look around the league. We got some good football flying around the NFL right now. And of course, we'll talk about our matchup against the Raiders next week with the noon kickoff. Keep it locked right here on the Undefeated Bears podcast. E9 is coming your way. Mitchell Trubisky went down in this game early on a scramble, man. Outside of the pocket, took a hit. Looked like he injured his shoulder on that one. Came back out in the sling and, gave an opportunity for Chase Daniel to get in the game, and he managed pretty well. Ended up with 199 yards and a touchdown. Overall, looked pretty good, looked pretty comfortable. Delivering the ball on time to his receivers. Had that one touchdown pass to Tariq Cohen, who in this game, finally got, involved in the offense in a meaningful moment, which was also good to see. But, overall, Chase Daniel, man, I'll give him the nod. I'll give him an overall good game. I was very happy to see him play well, in the heat of the moment with Mitch going down. It's one thing to prepare a week going in and, play quarterback and, have a serviceable game. But, to be thrown in the heat of the moment and be able to deliver, kudos to Chase Daniels, for delivering in that game, man. Allen Robinson, ended up with 7 catches, 77 yards. Once again, Allen Robinson is our number one receiver. I don't know what the debate is. He's playing good football this season. He's been consistent to this point. Javon Wims also contributed in this one, 4 catches, 56 yards. And we've been waiting on him to shine, man. Diehard Bears fans, we've been clamoring about this guy for a couple preseasons, couple seasons now. And it's good to see him contribute in meaningful moments, man. Javon Wims, 4 catches, 50 yards, I like to see more of that, man. And we'll see this team twice, so I wouldn't get too hyped up with this W. This is a divisional game, so we'll have to meet them again. And, next time offense does have to play a little better, I would say defense overall play lights out. And, we'll get into them now, man. Overall, this defense... Man, I cannot say it enough. This defense is just one of the more talented groups I've seen in my lifetime. I'm not the oldest cat out there, but this defense they're loaded on all levels. Once again, backups included. Kwiatkowski balled out today, man. Nick Williams balled out today, had a good game. Kwiatkowski ended up with 7 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. Guy was flying around the field, wreaking havoc, man. Just playing great football, just like he's done it before. He's prepared for this moment, and he's been around some great guys, some great defensive players, some great linebackers, and Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith, who's younger than him, but Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, these guys are all in the same locker room, They're all watching the same film. They're all having the same conversations, and he's benefited from that. And he came out and played good football today. Defense is lights out, man. Khalil Mack, these coming off the edge, man. Even with Hakeem Hicks out, man, these dudes were just balling, man, just playing great football. Eddie P as well went 100% from, on the field goals today, man, 3 for 3. And, overall, just a great game by our guys. It could look better. We're not a shootout type of team. We're not going to go out there and typically put up 30 points on guys, 30, 40 points. We had a couple high-scoring matchups around the league today, but that's not who these Bears are. They're going to control the game on defense. They're going to control the game with smart, meticulous type of offensive plays. Matt Nagy's just a very interesting play caller, haven't we seen? just a very interesting play caller. I think that's the best way to describe it. But, these guys are, 3-1 on the season going forward. And we got a pretty good matchup against the Raiders next week. A good football team, 500 football team. Definitely don't overlook these guys. But we'll get all into that later. Right now we'll get into around the league, looking at some of the matchups from around the NFL, see how they could affect our Bears going forward. Keep it locked right here on the Undefeated Bears podcast. First things first, on the Thursday night game, the Packers did take an L. And I can't say it was too bad to see. Aaron Rodgers threw a pick to end the game. Late pick in the red zone, and very uncharacteristic of Aaron Rodgers. A late game interception to pretty much take his team out of the game. They ended up losing 27-34 to the Eagles. And that brought the NFC North standings after the Sunday action with the Packers on top at 3-1. Bears tied with them with the 3-1 record, but of course they have that tied record in the moment. The Lions following at 2-1-1, and the Vikings in last place at 2-2, man. And this NFC North is definitely getting interesting. It's definitely going to be a potential to have a wild card come out, and possibly even 2 wild card teams, depending on how things shape out. So keep an eye on the NFC North as a whole, as a division. The Bucs and Rams had a shootout today, man. 55-40, with the Bucs ending up winning that game, to a lot of people's surprise. Jameis Winston out-dueling old Jared Goff over there, and the two teams lit it up for some good football. And what this game tells me, man, the Rams' defense is not legitimate. 55 points, that's an illegitimate defense. Because legitimate defenses do not give up near 60 points in the NFL, man. So the Rams definitely have some weaknesses. Todd Gurley, only 5 carries on the game. So that's clearly something that we need to monitor throughout the season. And as far as the Rams being a contender, with your defense giving up 55 points and Todd Gurley clearly not himself, only carrying the ball 5 times, and the guy did have 2 touchdowns on those carries, which is crazy if you really think about it. But I don't know. The Rams, as far as them being contenders, I think there's a lot of question marks brewing over there in L.A. The Browns end up beating the Ravens 40-25, man. Nick Chubb with a huge game, 165 yards, 3 touchdowns. Odell, man, 2 catches, 20 yards. What's up with that, man? They shut him down, but, the Browns coming in and beating the Ravens, which I'm personally surprised by. I didn't expect the Browns to pull that W off, but Baker Mayfield out-dueling old Lamar Jackson, getting the W for his team, man, for the city of Cleveland. That's a pretty big win, man. Keep an eye out there in the AFC North playoff race and the divisional race. That's going to be an interesting one. The Chiefs edge out the Lions 34-30. And the Lions are no scrubs, man, if from what I can see from this game. They did hold Pat Mahomes to 0 touchdown passes, although the Chiefs put up 34 points. Matt Stafford, if you ask me, outdueled him, man. Outdueled him. 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. The old vet's out there slinging it, man. And once again, the Lions may not make the playoffs because they're in a loaded division and a loaded conference, but they're good enough to keep other teams out of the playoffs. They're good enough to beat teams that are trying to make the playoffs, man. So I think they're a team to watch out for. The Seahawks and the Cardinals, Seahawks end up winning 27-10. Oh, Russell Wilson just being a machine out there, man. Casually carrying a franchise on his back. And I think it's time to, put Russell Wilson in the MVP conversation. I don't know what's so crazy about that, man. Just been out there carrying Seattle for some years. Just imagine if the guy had just one more Super Bowl ring. The level of stardom he'd be carrying right now, man. Russell Wilson just consistent, man. Getting it done out there in Seattle. Beating the Cardinals 27-10. But that's around the league, man. We got some storylines brewing. Some teams doing their thing. Ultimately we'll see how it shapes out First quarter of the season coming to an end with week 4 in the books. And we're seeing some teams separate themselves, man. We're seeing some NFC teams stand out. Cowboys with Dak Prescott balling out. And they'll have the Sunday night game. Some teams not playing so well. The Steelers, definitely on the back end of the league at this point. To a lot of people's surprise. Didn't expect Ben Roethlisberger and the boys to completely flop like that. But we'll get into the matchup against the Raiders. The Bears-Raiders coming up next week with a noon kickoff. We'll look at some keys to the game and see how our Bears can get this W coming up next week. Keep it locked right here on the Undefeated Bears podcast. Bears and those Raiders. We got a noon kickoff next week for the first game that's not in some form of prime time. We had the 4 o'clock kickoff today, 3 o'clock Central Time, but, this one's at noon, man, and, we'll have to get ready for a game under the bright lights of the sun against these Raiders, man. And looking at this game, I think the best thing the Raiders have going is Brandon Jacobs, the rookie running back out of Alabama, and unfortunately for them, that's the strength of our defense is defending the run. So I do think we have a good advantage in this game starting off as far as strengths and weaknesses. The Raiders are a good football team, though, a 500 team. And, if you look at it, they've beat 2 not-so-good teams, and they've lost to 2 pretty good teams. So, it's kind of hard to get a read on them. Derek Carr is leading the charge for this ball club with Brandon Jacobs to his side playing running back. On the defensive side of the ball, solid, but meh. Got some question marks on the defensive side of the ball. Not very many pass rushers, not very many playmakers. Not that many game changers on that side of the ball. It's hard for them to, make plays on the defense side of the ball, which could be to our advantage. We don't know if we'll have Chase Daniel or Mitchell Trubisky under the helm next week. I'm sure we'll get some information in the next couple of days. But to this point, that still is up in the air. But either way, I think either quarterback can have success against this defense. I don't have a doubt that our defense should give, the offense plenty of opportunities to make plays. The Raiders' offense just doesn't wow me, So I suspect our defense to be able to stop them, shut them down, get a lot of 3-and-outs, possibly a couple turnovers, and cause some havoc like they've been doing all season and like I expect them to continue doing going forward. This is that type of defense. But overall, this could potentially be a low-scoring game. Just this Raiders team, man, it's just something about John Gruden and Derek Carr that I just don't believe in that conversation, man. I don't believe in that combination. I just don't, man. I don't see how that combination can come into the Chicago wheelhouse and get a W, man. I don't foresee it happening. This offensive line is not tough enough to handle our front seven. Derek Carr is. I don't see that he's canny enough to carve up this defense in any way, shape, or form. I don't expect these guys might not score a touchdown, man. I just can't see it happening unless it's some late game garbage time. Meaningless TD, just like we saw with the Vikings today. I just don't expect this Oakland Raiders team to put up much of a fight. I need 4-1 after this game. I need comfortability in the division. Hopefully the Packers lose again, and we sit atop the division at that point, But the Raiders are not going to just roll over. We will need to come and play a good football team, be mean and be tough and be ready right off the jump. But there's no reason we should lose this football game, man. We'll wait for the news on Mitchell Trubisky, see who we're going to have at quarterback going forward. If it was up to me, I'd be rolling with Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel proved yesterday that he can be average. Chase Daniel seems very good at being average, and that's all we need. That's all we need for the Bears to win games right now. With this defense playing the way they are, playing lights out, making plays, getting after the quarterback, forcing turnovers. All we need is a average quarterback, man. And Chase Daniel seems apt. He seems very good at doing just that. So I say we roll with Chase Daniel and take the punches going forward, give Mitch some more time to develop on the bench. And maybe when he's ready, when that day comes, if and when, we'll give him a chance to suit up, man. It's just so crazy to think that Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, could easily be implemented where Mitchell Trubisky is, with the same draft pick, the same salary, everything, the same defense, everything the same, just with Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. What could have been? We got the matchup against the Raiders next week at noon. Hopefully we come out with a W and we'll come out of that one 4-1 and see what we place in the division after that. This is the Undefeated Bears podcast, episode 9. Thank you for tuning in this week. And we appreciate all our loyal fans. We got some listeners in France now, in the United Kingdom, as well as across the U.S. And man, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in each and every week. This is the Undefeated Bears podcast. We out. This is the Undefeated Bears podcast. Once again, we are now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Please go like, subscribe, share, and rate us, man. Let us know how you guys like the show, and we'll keep it coming to you. This is the Undefeated Bears podcast.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Undefeated Bears podcast. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest updates. Win, lose, or draw, Bears fan remain undefeated.